he just went low. He's in his head. He's in his head. He's open. His head wide open. Cracked open in the face.
Hey, what's going on, guys? It's my man 2100 back again with another episode of How's My Team. We got the Giants women's team ending their season. This week we've also got Liverpool playing in a couple of games. We've got the Wanderers playing as well. We've got the Wanderers women starting their season in the A-League women as well. So we've got a few things to talk about this week, but yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the results are in general. So we're going to start out with the roller coaster that was Liverpool FC this week, and in saying a roller coaster, it's almost a repeat of last week actually, but kind of reversed. So with Liverpool, they did end up winning today. They won this morning against Aston Villa 2-0, so it's a clean sheet for the first time in a while for Liverpool. With that result, that actually moves them up to third position at the moment. There's still a couple of more games to play towards tomorrow. So Bournemouth and Man City both play each other. Bournemouth are in second at the moment, but they're in front. And Man City, in terms of points, are on 16, whereas Liverpool are on 18. So if they end up winning over Bournemouth, Man City will jump into second position. But it's a big test for Bournemouth this week. We've also got Sunderland. They've also still got to play. I think they play West Ham, No, they play Everton. And if they win, they will jump, because they're on 17 points, they will jump into second as well, with 20. So no matter what the result is for Man City, if they do win, if Sunderland do win, they'll jump into second, with 20 points. There's a few other teams. I think Newcastle play West Ham as well. So there's only a few games that haven't been played as of yet. A few of them play tonight and tomorrow morning. But 2-0 against Aston Villa. Aston Villa right now are in 11th position. Obviously they could still drop if Newcastle end up winning. Actually, yes, they can. It's just, it would have to be, obviously, if it was a 1-0 win. Actually, no, they're on +1 in terms of goal difference, so they actually will jump. But, yeah, so all the positions in the table have not been solidified just yet, but we'll see what happens towards the end of the week. Obviously, Liverpool could drop down to as low as 5th position. With the other results going against them, with Man City and Sunderland both winning, if they win tomorrow morning and tonight. But at the moment, they're in third position, which is great considering we were down to about 7th or 8th. Man United down in 17th position with a 2-2 draw against Nottingham Forest, who are in third last and in the relegation zone. So pretty funny how things like, there might be four games unbeaten, but it's amazing what happens when with a week in terms of the Premier League. Obviously the Liverpool app has not updated to say the position of where Liverpool are at the moment, because they were not on there. But in terms of other competitions for Liverpool FC, we're going to talk about the League Cup, the Carabao Cup, and it was another loss. It was another loss to Crystal Palace, 3-0 loss actually in that. Though what I will say is that obviously Liverpool had a few shots on. They didn't have as many as I thought they probably would be. But I will say in Arne Slot's defence for the game, I'm not obviously giving them massive credit of not scoring any goals. But he did change a lot of the side. And I think he needed to do that. Obviously needed to rest some players as well, obviously with the league, the games coming up, as well as obviously the Aston Villa game today. They need to put new blood into the team as well, and obviously they got to try out some players from the academy and like players that are on the fringe that haven't played for Liverpool. So I don't mind the fact that obviously with a League Cup, obviously a fourth round, there is a possibility. Obviously there was other teams that did that as well. I think Man City, I think, might have been one of them. Arsenal might have been another one. But there's a few teams around that mix that were using players that weren't necessarily in the first 11. And I don't mind that. Because obviously in some way, shape or form, you could find a player or two that plays really, really well in those games that obviously have been on the fringe for so long, and they maximise on the opportunity, and like maybe, one of them might score like 2 or 3 goals, for example, or assist in 2 and score 1. Like they have a really, really good game, and then you have a situation where you kind of have a selection battle, which usually isn't always the best thing, but a selection battle in terms of picking your best team sometimes is a really good thing. So I don't mind him trying that. Obviously, it didn't pan out the way that it was. There was a lot of people. There was a lot of people out for that game, so can't fault them on that. But yeah, it's not ideal. But obviously, with games coming up, very, very big games this week. We've obviously got Real Madrid on Wednesday at 7 a.m. my time, and then 3:30 in the morning on Monday next week. So not this Monday coming, or actually the Monday that just previously went. It's the Monday after. The 10th is against Man City at Etihad. So very, very big games for both. Actually both of those games realistically, and then obviously we have a break until the 23rd of November when we play Nottingham Forest towards the end of the month. So obviously we've got some, a week off for international games, but goddamn, this week is not going to get any easier. Thankfully, at least with the fixture for Real Madrid, we're playing at home. We're playing at Anfield. Obviously, played at Anfield the last 2 games as well. So ultimately, could be a better situation for us. Obviously, Real Madrid, in terms of the Champions League, are in the top. They're in 5th position. They dropped to 5th position. Obviously, Liverpool in 10th position, and 3 points behind, so a win behind Real Madrid. But hopefully, it'll be a good game. It'll be a very, very taxing game. It'll be very, very tough. But I guess we kind of don't want it any other way. But yeah, it's just going to be an interesting week next week, because we'll see what happens. Obviously, we will only be really talking about probably the Real Madrid game. There is a possibility, obviously, I could talk about the Man City game. Just depends on when I get the episode next week up and running and when I record it, because the results might go the way. But yeah, so obviously roller coaster, obviously out for the Carabao Cup, out of the 4th round, obviously against Crystal Palace. Not ideal, but obviously a win in the Premier League to put us into what will be the top 5 of the Premier League table. If other results, like we're obviously, again, like I said, in 3rd position, but obviously with Man City still to play against Bournemouth and Sunderland still to play against Everton, we might drop to 5th position, which is not a bad result considering we were in well outside 5th position in 7th and 8th, I think, at the end of last week. So big result for Liverpool in that regard. But yeah, very roller coaster type week this week for Liverpool FC. And now I'm wearing the jersey, and we're going to talk about more disappointment. the Giants women's season obviously is over. They just played their last game at home, and it was a 57-point loss to Port Adelaide. So it's actually 1 point more than obviously the highest loss that we had, which was week 1 against Essendon, who was 56 points, 81-24. So it was 11 goals 15 to 3 goals 6. Again, it's another situation with inaccurate goal kicking from actually both teams really, but obviously 27 shots on goal. Sorry, 26. I can't count today. 26 to 9. But yeah, not a great result, obviously, for the Giants women. They were actually in front. I didn't actually know that. They were in front in the first quarter. It was 2 goals, 2 to 2 behinds for the Giants. Then they only scored 2 behinds, one in the second quarter and one in the third quarter, whereas obviously Port Adelaide exploded to 6 goals and 2 behinds in the second quarter and 3 goals and 6 behinds in the third. And then we end up with 1 goal, 2 for the Giants in the last quarter compared to 2 goals and 5 behinds for Port Adelaide. And with that result, that confirms us to be in the bottom 2 of the ladder, unfortunately due to percentage. It's not an ideal situation. Obviously, yes, kind of better position than obviously last year, because obviously last year we did end up finishing last. So it is 1 position better, but it's still made a lengthy comment on the post on social media as well. But it's not good enough. There should be a lot more improvement. Obviously, yes, there's some juniors playing at the club, but there's some veterans there too. So it's a bit of a weird situation where they should be a lot better, and for whatever reason, they're not playing better as a inaugural side in the AFLW that have been there for well over 10 years, obviously, with competition being, I think this might actually be its 10th year, being there since the start. You'd think that they would be in a better situation, playing better, because obviously the consistency, Fremantle and Collingwood are outside right now. Obviously Fremantle, to get in to finals at the moment, would have to draw with Adelaide to get in, or win, either of those two. But it is a situation where they're in and around the mix all the time, like every other team. Like Collingwood have obviously had some issues recently. Fremantle's been a little bit outside. The Western Bulldogs obviously have been around in near the top, but obviously Kangaroos, I think obviously they had a couple of years they were a bit, not as good. But Melbourne consistent, Brisbane consistent. They've obviously won titles, both of those clubs. Adelaide obviously being there, they've also won competitions as well. Collingwood obviously have done that previously as well. And it's just a situation where I just think that something really needs to change at this club, because you can't have a percentage of 58.9. You can't have 2 wins on the board from 12 games and expect to go well. Now, obviously, we're lucky because obviously Gold Coast, even with a big win that they had against Richmond yesterday, obviously the percentage is 41.3. So they did get a big boost. They obviously were in the 30s, like high 30s, and they got like 3 or 4 percentage points from their win. It's still very lucky that we didn't get last again. Even with Gold Coast actually winning against us early in the season as well. So it is a situation where there's a lot of things that are wrong with this club, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what needs to be looked at. Obviously the Department of Football needs to be looked at a little bit. Might be a new coach. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with the side, but it's pretty disappointing. Obviously the men have been around the mix, obviously around finals. Obviously they've missed a lot. They've lost quite a few finals as well. They've only missed a couple in the last decade, since actually the Giants women's team has started playing. Realistically, there's been quite a few issues with the club, and I don't know what's going on, but something needs to change. 57 points is not a good enough result, and yeah. So, with that being said, obviously the season for them is finished. They can reset, go into next season, see if they can do better, but things need to change, and 57 points is not a great result at all, and that puts us well behind the 8 ball of being last almost again at the end of this season, only going one position better and being in 17th rather than 18th, but still not the amount of improvement that I would appreciate from a club like this. And lastly, from the teams that obviously I follow, we got to talk about both of the Wanderers teams. Obviously, we got the men's going into another away game, going into their first derby of the year, the Western Sydney derby against Macarthur Bulls. We also had the women start their season this week, because they actually start a couple of weeks after the men's started, and they've already played, and they played their first game at home as well against Perth Glory. So we'll start with the women, obviously, to start off. Obviously last year they ended up getting last, and I think it was only in the last couple of weeks that they ended up getting last position in the A-League women's competition. And they didn't start out great at all. It was a 3-1 loss at home against Perth Glory. Not a great result at all in terms of that. We did score the third goal of the game. It was 1-0 at half-time in that game, and I actually did keep the notifications for this, so I'll actually show it. So it was in the 28th minute that Perth scored, obviously at half-time. 2 minutes after half-time, in the 47th minute, Perth actually ended up scoring. Then in the 51st minute was when the Wanderers did score. But only a minute later, Perth ended up scoring their third goal. So they ended up actually being behind, getting a goal back, and then being behind by the same margin again in the same game. And it was not a situation that I did like a lot from the women's side. I don't know what happened, but seeing that notification come through I was like, oh yeah, it's 2 goals to 1, yeah, nice. And then immediately getting that notification, like not even 30 seconds later. It was a situation that was not ideal. Obviously that position ends up putting them in last. Not every game obviously has played yet, but being down by 2 goals in terms of goal difference is not a great start. Obviously in last position, but obviously there's 11 teams in the women's competition, because obviously West United are not part of the season, and then obviously Auckland do not have a women's side as well as of yet. I would imagine they would eventually. I don't know if they have the funding for that or not. I'm not sure, but I'd say they're probably working on that in terms of Auckland and trying to get 2 teams together. Obviously, the men's, it was a weird result. It was a 1-1 draw, so not ideal in terms of getting points, but it could have been a lot worse. We could have had a loss. They scored in the 2nd minute of the game, Macarthur, which was not ideal at all. It was a terrible start, putting us behind the 8 ball literally from the get-go. But we did score in the 82nd minute, which was great. So we did actually claw 1 back to get 1 point back in the bank, but unfortunately that also means that we're in a situation where we don't move from any position that we're in, and we're in 11th in the men's as well, but actually second last in the competition in the men's. Obviously there's still a couple of games still to go. They've actually got 1 game left, which is Wellington versus Central Coast. That plays today. That plays this afternoon. But obviously Perth are on the bottom. 2 goals and 8 scored against. We have 2 goals and 3. So it's not as bad. Obviously it's -1. But in saying that, 2 points from the first 4 games of the season, the first 3 games rather of the season, Arguably, if it was a loss, I would have said it's probably the worst start that we've had for quite some time. It still probably is up there as one of the worst starts we've had in seasons gone by, because we've actually been a lot better previously. And it doesn't get any easier. We do go up against Adelaide in Adelaide on Friday night. They're in ninth position at the moment. Obviously could drop to 10th if Central Coast do win today. But yeah, so we go to Cooper Stadium, and the women end up going on Sunday. They play at home against Melbourne Victory, who also had a loss as well. And Melbourne Victory, in terms of the women's, obviously are in 10th position, but with only a -1 goal difference compared to -2. So not great results. Obviously only getting 1 point out of the 2 games for both the women and the men's teams. A lot of the competition has been out of whack. Obviously Auckland FC being at the top. Sydney FC obviously winning heavily against the Newcastle Jets, puts them in 2nd position. Melbourne City going a bloody goalless draw, I should say, against Brisbane, keep them in 3rd. Obviously Wellington possibly could jump both of those 2 sides in Sydney and Melbourne City. If they do win today, they will go up to 7 points. Obviously it'll be depending on goal difference whether they will be on top or whether they'll be in 2nd position, because they will be on the same amount of points as Auckland, but we won't know in terms of goal difference. Obviously the goal difference at the moment is +1 for Wellington, it's +2 for Auckland. So if they do end up winning by at least 1 goal, possibly Wellington would probably have to win by 2 or more to go to the top, because let's say they do it by alphabetical order, because obviously they haven't played each other yet, Auckland and Wellington, which won't be until next week. It will be on Saturday afternoon for them. So it's going to be a very interesting game for them. Obviously Macarthur jumped to 5th position, Brisbane in 6th position, and then obviously Melbourne Victory, Jets, Adelaide, Central Coast obviously with that game in hand, but they could jump all the way up to 3rd position with a win today. So it's been pretty close. The competition is pretty close. Obviously Western Sydney and Perth are the only 2 teams that haven't won this season as of yet, but there's not a lot of teams that have done that have won, a couple of games on the stretch. It's only at the moment only 2 teams that have won multiple games this season, obviously being Sydney and Auckland, but possibly Wellington could join that list, as well as Central Coast could be the other one. But still up for grabs, but not a great result for both Wanderers teams, including especially the women's. Not a great start, but obviously with the men's, it's not a great start either, with 3 rounds into the new season for them. And that'll be it for this episode of How's My Team. Obviously went over a few teams, obviously Liverpool going up and down all over the place, the Wanderers looking for answers in terms of trying to do better in their seasons. Obviously the women need to find some answers too. Obviously it's only just the start of theirs, so they've kind of got a little bit of an excuse. Obviously 3-1 loss is not ideal, but yeah, with all that said, that's really about it. Obviously talking about some other miscellaneous stuff. Obviously I'm looking at my phone right now because it is Game 7 of the World Series, with the Toronto Blue Jays being up 3 runs to nothing at the moment against the Dodgers, and it went all the way to the 7th game. This is the last game of the season, no matter who wins at this stage. Obviously it is Toronto in the lead at this moment, but it's 3 runs. It's not anything that's unassailable right now in terms of the Dodgers. They've done that. They've done it at least once or twice this World Series. So it is a situation where anything could happen. But it's been an entertaining series. Obviously they could have won yesterday, the Blue Jays, but just didn't. There was a crazy amount of plays in the last inning, and yeah, there wasn't too many scores. I think it was only 3-1 yesterday in terms of a win for the Dodgers. So not not the blowout, but probably a close game. Probably arguably one of the closest games, apart from obviously the game that was Game 3, in the fact that it was tied. Game 3, which if we didn't see on Tuesday, if you see that on the final/18, it went to 18 innings before the last run went to Freddie Freeman to win it for the Dodgers. But it went to 18 innings, arguably one of the longest games ever. I think it actually ties a record with some of the longest games in postseason history in terms of playoffs and postseason. And even the World Series. I think it was the World Series of 2018 or something like that. I think it was the last time that we'd seen that, when it was obviously the Red Sox and the Dodgers as well, coincidentally. And it was the Dodgers that won that night as well. But it's pretty crazy. It's been a pretty crazy season for both teams, honestly. It shows that Toronto have been a really, really good team, and whether Seattle would have got in, whether it would have went to 7 games, obviously is all hypothetical. But if they played anywhere as good as Toronto have actually played, Seattle probably would have been right there with the Dodgers if they don't end up winning. So pretty interesting World Series. Obviously with the Seattle Seahawks still playing. They come back from the bye. They were on the bye week last week. And they will play against the Washington Commanders in the late game on Monday my time, so it'll be late Sunday night. But obviously when this episode goes up, that game would have already played. But in a good state of mind, I think that ultimately I feel like Seattle coming off the break, obviously getting a win over Houston before the bye week, definitely did help things. And obviously we're right near the top, if not at the top of the division at the moment. Obviously, we're still going to play against the Arizona Cardinals, and we've also got to play against the Rams yet, with the Rams being probably the standout team in the division at the moment. Obviously, the 49ers are in and around the mix and playing a lot better than they have in previous seasons, at least towards the start of this season. Anyway, lost a couple of games, so so it's going to be an interesting mix. But it's just one of those things that I think that, and as I say that it could be either way. Will Smith, the baseball player for the Dodgers, just hit a double. So the game is not completely over yet, and it's only the top of the 4th inning at the moment. So this could go a while. But I feel like Seattle with the break, obviously with the win, they should have had a better win, obviously against Houston last week. Getting it to an 8-point win, which was not ideal in terms of interceptions and fumbles, and that was not ideal. But hopefully they play a lot better. Obviously they've had a bit of rest as well. Obviously Washington have not. They played on, I think they played on Tuesday my time. They played Monday Night Football against the Chiefs. So in a losing effort, obviously, to the Chiefs, but played okay, I think, in that game. Could have played a hell of a lot better, obviously, but it could have played a hell of a lot worse. So, it's going to be interesting to see what happens, because who knows at this point with Seattle, but I hope that they're going to be around the mix and get another win. It's a single to Freddie Freeman. So we've got one on first and one on third. I do like the fact that this is the MLB app. They actually do show the where the ball is hit and the Rogers Field, obviously, the Rogers Centre. They obviously show you where the base is and where the people are. Obviously, they've got the chips in the back of the jerseys, I believe, probably towards the back here, to see where the players obviously are. And obviously, they're getting information in terms of obviously their stats and everything like that, in terms of heart rates, in terms of their physical exertion and stuff like that. But it's just one of those things where it's going to be an interesting week to see what happens this week, obviously, with quite a few big games coming up, obviously, for many of my teams. It's just going to be an interesting situation, especially with how the way that the Wanderers will respond. Obviously, the Giants can't respond because obviously their season's done, but we'll see where Liverpool goes as well. It's going to be interesting for them because obviously this week is going to be a huge week for them too. But I feel like the Wanderers maybe have like a bigger week. Obviously, yes, it's Real Madrid and Man City, obviously two really good teams, right? But at the same time, with the Wanderers, they need points for both teams. Need points on the board. Winning against Adelaide, they need to go up against Adelaide. Obviously, the men's team go up against Adelaide, and then Melbourne Victory, obviously, going down as well in the women's. So we need and that's on Sunday. So we need some good results either way for both teams. With the Wanderers, it's very important for their seasons, because especially for the men's team, because a lot of questions are coming in, obviously, to that side in particular right now. Obviously, there are a heap of them around Liverpool as well, but obviously the two next games are the big tests. Obviously, Aston Villa obviously were playing relatively well in the last few weeks in the Premier League, so obviously they're in that situation where they could have played a little bit better in that game. Not that they didn't have shots, but obviously they just didn't play their best game against Liverpool. But obviously playing against Real Madrid, playing against Man City, two top teams in both the Champions League right now, and obviously with Man City the Premier League and around the mix as well. It's one of those things where the real test obviously comes now, because if we do well against those two sides, we might be out of it. We do relatively okay against both sides. If we get, let's say, like 2 draws, for example, it'd be not ideal, but obviously would be a better result than 2 losses or 1 loss in the mix there. But it's just going to be a test for the side and see how resilient Liverpool are going to be. And then obviously, yes, the Wanderers do need to play better. And then obviously the Giants, you know what I talked about the Giants women's team already. I kind of obviously went in the rant in terms of what's going on with this team, but I don't know what's going on with them. But just things need to improve. That's just a simple fact. But yeah, with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of How's My Team. This has been my Man Tells 100. You guys have a great day or night, and of course, take care.